What's going on, guys? Welcome back. Today, we are going to look at the effects of the Industrial Revolution, specifically three different major effects of the revolution. And so, as usual, I'm going to do my notes in different colors. You don't have to, but it helps me organize my thoughts. I suggest you try it. It may help you. If it doesn't, does it hurt? Now you just have pretty notes. All right, so we're going to go here. First one we're going to look at is urbanization. Urbanization. Urbanization happens kind of as a result of the changing philosophy of the Industrial Revolution. So before you had kind of small little rural towns, not a lot of people, very small rural towns, right? And so that all changes, especially when the rich buy up all the farmland. And so those poor farmers that now don't have farmland or a place to work, they all move. And so what you see is a movement from kind of rural towns to a growth of major cities. And those major cities, people are moving to those cities so that they can go work in the factories. And so people are going to work in these factories, and all of a sudden you have lots of people all in the same place. So you go from rural, which is kind of like country, smaller, to urban. All right? But the taking of all these people, moving to the cities results in some very, very poor living conditions. You have everything's overcrowded, and so all along your roads, you just have trash and waste, and there wasn't really, cities weren't a big thing yet. There wasn't really a city planning system. And so you just have lots of trash around in these urban areas. So it's letting off pollution and it's just unhealthy. It's an unhealthy way of living. Now, the second effect of the revolution, as we move, the second effect of the revolution has to do with working conditions, specifically poor working conditions. They have very, very poor working conditions. For example, the amount of time that they are on the clock, the amount of time that they're working is equal to 12 to 16 hours a day. So 12 to 16 hours a day, half to 3/4 of their day is spent working in these factories. And the factories, well, they're making people sick. They're making people sick because of all the smoke and the bad, all the smoke and the carcinogens and everything that's going on and being released. People are getting sick. They're getting sick. They're breathing that in all day for 12 to 16 hours. Also, you have women that are now working in the factories, which is progress kind of, except that more women are being hired because they're viewed as less than the men working in the factories. And what you see is that women are getting less money than males that are working in the factories. So women, although viewed as an asset because they can be an employee, they're also not getting treated the same as their male counterparts. They're getting they're getting more dangerous jobs because they tend to be smaller, which means they can work within the machines. But they're getting paid less. They're getting paid less. Another problem that you see emerge is you have males, you got females, and we just talked about how the pay was different there, but also children. Children are being hired. And so they're hiring children because they're smaller. And so they're hiring children because the bosses want these small bodies because they can go literally inside these giant machines. We saw how big the machines were in our photos on the advancements made during the Industrial Revolution. Machines are huge, they're giant, they take up whole rooms. And so they're hiring small children to go work inside these machines. And it a lot of times resulted in loss of limbs, sometimes death, that maybe they would go in there, they would try to fix the machine, something was clogging it up, and it stopped it. The child would go in there to try and fix it, and you know what? If they got out in time, they got out in time. If they didn't, the manager was just like, oh, well, and send an apology card to parents. It's really, really sad. It's really, really poor how the children were treated while they were working. And on top of that, they're making, again, less money than their adult counterparts. Our next, um, our next aspect of the Industrial Revolution is a new kind of economic class structure. You had a new class structure, a new economic system. So you had your upper class, your higher ups. These are all your rich people. Factory owners, right? All the ones that are making all the money off of the industrial group. So this is your upper class. And then you see the development of a middle upper class. A middle upper class. And this tended to be your healthcare workers, doctors, and judges. Now I'm going to try and draw like a gavel. Lawyers and judges tended to make up your middle upper class. All right. And then you had a lower middle class. You had a lower middle class, and these were your intellectuals. Teachers, things of that nature. And then finally, you had your lower class. And your lower class, ironically, during the Industrial Revolution, are your most important people. They're the people working in the factories. They're the people working in the factories. And so one of the sad things about the new class structure is that oftentimes the people on the lowest scale of this new class structure, they're the ones that are making money for this upper class structure. All of their hard work here that is keeping them in the lower class, dealing with all of those poor working conditions that we talked about, is making this upper class that doesn't have to deal with this nonsense, it's making them money. It's making them richer. And in this process, they're continuing to make money and continuing to make money and continuing to get rich. And what you see is that women tend to fall into one of two groups. Women either fell into the middle to upper class, and women in the middle to upper class had access to education, and they tended to make more money as a result of that education. Or women were in the lower class. And the lower class women, they had to go to work. And so as a result of being at work, there is distance between them and their families. They're away from their families because they're having to work because they're not making the money that this group is. And then they're away at their factory jobs instead of being with their families, making less money than these upper class women. And so as you can see, we talked about how the Industrial Revolution makes a lot of money for some of your countries as a whole, and it's making money for the rich people. But for the everyday common person, most of the Industrial Revolution is bad. The cities that they're living in are poor condition. There's sanitation issues. There's pollution everywhere. The working conditions that your everyday normal person is forced to work in are horrible. Half to 3/4 of your day spent in smoke and pollution and just dust. Horrible work. Doing hard labor for low pay. And that low pay is what allows those other people, the people that own the factories, to continue to get rich. And if you said anything or you complained about it, the upper people, the people that controlled the factories, they would just fire you. Because there was more people than there were jobs. Because all of these people, they don't have farms anymore. They're moving to these cities specifically to go work in these factories. And so if you said anything about it, they would just get rid of you. And sadly, these people are forced to realize that making a little bit of money is better than making no money at all. And so the rich people take advantage of the situation. And that's why you get this new class structure with the upper class and the lower class. And it is because of the lower class that the upper class exists, but they're not paid for it. And we're going to stop right here. And we're going to talk about more, as we move forward, we're going to talk about the economics behind the Industrial Revolution. And as we move forward, we're going to talk about the military effects of the Industrial Revolution. But check Canvas for your assignment. Let me know if you need any help. And as always, have a great day.